As far as I understand this correctly, you're using the olfactory system in order to positively influence your brain and your state of mind.
To be honest, you are the first podcast or the first interview at all where I'm speaking about BrainSend publicly. And I was asking lots of questions. Like, is it really true, or is it just, pseudo scientifically, and it's not really proven? And he's no, it's absolutely true. We should talk about it. And we pivoted the idea and founded a company in August 2020, BrainSend, with the idea to help people or enable them to have a mentally healthy life.
The following is a conversation with Dominic von Proeck. Dominic is a well-known brain hacker out of Europe, and at his latest project, he's working on using your olfactory system and the sense of smell in order to make you sleep better, but also deal with your mental health, be more productive, and generally just improve your well-being. I was very excited to have Dominic on, and now let's get straight into it. Dominic, again, thanks so much for being here. I've been really looking forward to this. We scheduled this about a month ago or something. You're a very busy guy. Through a mutual friend, we were introduced, and Dominic, you're in Vienna right now, right? Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, love Vienna, by the way. I used to live on in Tiefengraben. This used to be my daughter was born there. Very fond memories. But the reason why I wanted to have you on Sense with Benefits, which is the name of this podcast, is that you are very focused on learning and the brain. And one of your recent projects is called BrainSend. And as far as I understand this correctly, you're using the olfactory system in order to positively influence your brain and your state of mind. Maybe we could just start off with, if you could tell me a little bit about yourself and your background, and then later we go on into the nitty and gritty of the BrainSend.
Perfect. So in the first Matrix movie, there was a getaway scene where Trinity and Neo needed to escape with a helicopter. The big problem was none of them knew how to fly one. So they called the operator, and the operator was uploading some sort of algorithm, some sort of skill. So Trinity was able to fly the helicopter, and the escape was successful. That is what I am working on. So I'm trying to break the human brain code so we are able to learn skills as fast as in the Matrix movie. In 2016, I founded an edtech company which is called Proeck Incorporated. And we built some sort of a flight simulator for future skills. So for leadership, communication, creativity, and so on, where young leaders learned not just the knowledge and the methodology, which come along with leadership, but also gain experiences within that flight simulator. We collected over 4 million data points. And from that, we derived a learning framework which we were able to reduce the time usually a big company needs to develop such a leader in 12 to 18 months to 10 weeks with better results. And I sold this company this year to the market leader in digital education, the WBS Group in Germany. And now I'm pretty much focused on building my own research company, on working on the neural code again. And one sidearm of that research institute is maybe BrainSend.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about BrainSend specifically. How did you get stuck on the nose, essentially? And how does that play a role in what you're doing with the brain?
Well, in 2020, I was looking for a new research project within Proeck, and I came up with the idea on how could we enhance digital learning using our senses more. Because usually we build an app or some sort of dopamine enhancement system within such an app, but we don't think about our environment when we're thinking about digital learning. And then I came up with the question on how could we use sense to enhance the experience we have when we learn digitally. And in the beginning, everyone in the company was laughing and was thinking about it as a crazy idea, using sense for digital learning. And I came up with some studies which were pretty old, to be honest. I think 10, 15 years where they used sense in school environments and saw the effects on how sense could change the way people write and do math. And the math skills went up, and they were able to write much more correctly and with fewer errors. So it was pretty interesting to read all those studies. And I came up with the idea on how could we use sense now. And I got introduced to a well-known scent expert, Robert Müller-Grünow. And I was asking him lots of questions. Like, is it really true, or is it just, pseudo scientifically, and it's not really proven? And he's, no, it's absolutely true. We should talk about it. And then COVID came up, the pandemic, and everything changed. And we had to focus on punk again because the education market went down pretty drastically during COVID. No matter if you were a digital company or not, it was one of the first budgets that went down during the pandemic. So, and during the pandemic, I realized that many of my employees had the same problem and were reporting about mental issues. Like they had trouble concentrating more than an hour on a day, or getting up in the morning, not just, grabbing the smartphone, lying in bed, going through Instagram, and are not able to get out of bed properly. And also in the evening, having trouble not reading emails or Slack communication again, and really shut down, relax, And what I realized is when sense could help us be able to learn better, maybe it could also help us to relax better, concentrate, and so on. And then we pivoted the idea and founded a company in August 2020, BrainSend, with the idea to help people or enable them to have a mentally healthy life. That's how I started.
Yeah. And well, first of all, I'm very interested in that topic. In fact, I'm actually also working on a company that uses scent in order to just make you feel better overall, like a more pleasurable way to go through life especially when you're working from home, based on my wife's experience and all that. I just think that you're doing it very interestingly from a technical perspective. But one question I have is, and you kind of mentioned that before, the thing that I often run into when I talk about these things is that people do have that perception of putting it equally to what do you call it? Aromatherapy. And then the next step is, it's a little bit pseudoscience. How do you battle that in the early stages when you talk about this project?
Well, to be honest, it drastically changed. 5 years ago or 6 years ago, there was a pretty big scientific breakthrough in cell biology. And what Professor Doctor, it's 3 PhDs, Hans Hutt found out is, with his team, that nearly every cell in the human body has a scent receptor.
Oh, so really?
Your gut, your heart, your prostate, your kidneys, you name it, have cells which also have scent receptors. And there are certain scent molecules who react to those cells. So a little bit like the key lock principle of enzymes, right? So there are specific scent molecules that lock or unlock those cells. Okay.
But on that point specifically, we don't actually perceive it directly, right? So it's almost like infrared, where we don't see it, but it's there and it does have an impact on. Okay, I see. Gotcha.
So your kidney can smell in the way your nose can smell stuff, right?
It doesn't lead to the brain directly.
Exactly. So, which is very powerful, to be honest, to manipulate those cells in a certain way. So, for example, orange is linked to heart cells. And when you smell orange and when it gets into your blood vessels, your pulse goes down. So it reduces the frequency of your pulse if you smell orange, for example. Right. Yeah. And that was pretty big breakthrough. And on that breakthrough, that is the basement of what we're doing at BrainSend. So we are looking for scents that specifically help us release certain neurotransmitters in the brain to help you concentrate better, to help you relax more effectively and to sleep better as well. And usually when we start with every part of your body has a cell receptor, people usually don't think about aromatherapy or it's some sort of voodoo. So we usually talk about high-tech fragrances, smart scents, and it's a big breakthrough, in my opinion,
right.
What we found out here.
So you're basically addressing it more from a scientific standpoint with hard facts and studies. I think that's a good way to talk about it. So how does the solution, you haven't launched yet, right? You're about to launch it on a crowdfunding platform, or what's your go-to-market idea?
Well, to be honest, you are the first podcast or the first interview at all where I'm speaking about BrainSend publicly.
Okay. So, well, I feel honored. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. But we've been into the garage and we were engineering a lot of when it comes to the scent parts on the one hand side, but also the app and the interaction and how we create it with the device. Mm-hmm. And we're now at a point where here we are looking for a smart partner which launches with us. So we're pretty good when it comes to the product and everything that comes along with it. But we decided that we are not the marketing guys and we won't have a classic company like,
So, sorry, you were kind of breaking up in the middle there. You said that you don't have a marketing partner and you're looking for a company to brand it with you or co-brand it, or?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
More like a retail partner. And we're having discussions now with some interesting partners at the moment and some markets, which will be the first markets we're starting with. So that's actually the phase we're in.
And so who is your ideal customer for that? Who you're building this for?
Well, to be honest, what we learned is that when we were looking at the studies, there's an IPRA study from 2021 where they stated that 56% of white-collar workers report mental issues. And when I talk about mental issues, I'm not talking about the big buzzwords like burnout or depression, but usually mental health is a spectrum. Yeah. So when you talk about depression, before you run into a big, bold depression, you usually have some stages before that. And one of them is called languishing. And some of those symptoms I just described about not being able to concentrate well, having trouble, separate work and leisure time and getting out of bed. Those are usually symptoms our customers have. So we've run through many interviews with customers from Punk to get a better idea what they want. And I cannot tell you like a fixed target group, like you have to be 35 and above. Work in this industry. We learned there are two big groups. One are the people who try to get better every day. So guys who try to get peak performances at its best, and on the other side, people who have been working hybrid since COVID, so who have lots and lots of going on when it comes to some work time, getting the kids in the kindergarten, some meeting again, getting the groceries, and so on. Where experts talk about work-life blending, and those are usually people who have those symptoms of languishing.
Yeah, I originally, when I thought about this idea, I thought the customer would be like individuals, like you mentioned. But then I remembered a couple of years ago, there was this startup pitch event, and I created this weekend company, which was called Klima, and it was basically an app that asks people in the office and in restaurants if they're too cold or too hot, because I used to live in Hawaii and the ACs were always blasting. And so I was doing some research on that. And it actually turned out that if you regulate the temperature in your office space in a certain way, then that also has impact on the productivity for your workers. And I think the same would also apply in your case. So maybe, like corporate clients might be interested in that as well, I think. So that's very cool. So I assume that you have thought of like initial maybe scent profiles or maybe results that you want. What would you be rolling out first? Like what scent or what result do you want to achieve with that device first in the series of scents, I guess?
So one cent is for the rise in productivity, one relaxation, and one better sleep. Those will be the first 3 cents we're starting with. And we conducted our own study with Leuphana University and had over 120 people who tried those scents, and we separated them in different groups. One had the placebo scent with no effects at all, and the other ones one has productivity, one had relaxation, and one had sleep. And it was incredible after the course of 6 weeks how much their life changed when it comes to productivity, rose 18%, 25% enhancement in general well-being, and also the ability to separate work and leisure went up by significantly 23%. So those will be our launch scents, and every scent else coming would be some sort of use case from our customers, and then we're trying to find the right ingredients with the least side effects.
Right. What are some of the side effects that you found so far that are not that good?
Well, for example, if you look at lavender, it's well known as a public knowledge that lavender helps calming down. But lavender also has parts in it naturally that activate. So it usually is not helping you sleep better, even if you think, and many people think it will enhance the sleep experience, but it usually keeps you on a certain level. That's some sort of a side effect we don't want to have. So if you want to have a sleep fragrance, we want to help you fast and really get you to sleep. And with one of our cooperation partners, we conduct many studies when it comes to what is the right ingredient and the right combination you need to put in to get good results. So usually if you go to any drugstore and buy any cheap fragrance, even if you heard lavender, for example, should be fine, or eucalyptol or rose or whatsoever, you usually don't have the effects you want to achieve.
Interesting. I generally am very fascinated by this topic, and I also think that the scent of smell is so underappreciated in our society today. We were just talking about this with my wife, actually. It's here in Florida. There seems to be a growing trend that people install grass, like fake grass outside, because it's easier and to maintain, obviously, and all that. And I was kind of thinking about it, but then again, like, yeah, you make it look really nice, but even the scent of grass, when you cut it, it has a very relaxing, calming effect. And that's just gone. And we don't think about it in our society today because it's just kind of, we're very visual in today's world, I think. And maybe also the audio plays a big role in this digital world. So I think it's great that you're doing this. I am going to hopefully get scientists from Norway or Sweden, I forgot which one it was, on the podcast. He recently developed a little scent generator that is supposed to help you in VR to be a little bit more
more immersed.
So is that something that you might be interested in as well? Maybe as we go into more and more into digital, kind of designing an environment?
Well, I think it's pretty interesting what those guys are doing, and we've looked intensely into VR projects and how could we enhance such an experience. So there was a meme years ago which was stating World of Warcraft 2030, and in that picture there was a guy lying on the floor in his apartment. Everything was dirty and wet, and he was just in his VR glasses. And I always thought when I was seeing that picture, I wouldn't believe it. Being in a cold room, smelling terrible, even if I have glasses on, I wouldn't believe the experience. So I think it's pretty necessary that people think about it. But for BrainScent, we have a pretty clear focus on mental well-being and not so much about VR.
Got it. So with BrainScent, what's your favorite scent so far that you discovered for you personally?
Well, personally, I'm pretty energized as a person, and I'm, which all my employees would tell you, do a lot of stuff during your day. So calming down is a pretty big challenge for me. So the relaxing scent we developed is in the daily usage, so to say.
Okay, so great. Well, that was amazing. Dominic, I know you're very busy. I would love to get my hands on the device when it's ready. And it's coming with an app as well. Is it app controlled or? Okay.
That's one of the biggest parts. So on the one hand side, you need the right scent, right?
Yeah.
And on the other side, you need to dose those scents according to your personal biorhythm. So dosage is key, like Paracelsus said, the dose makes the poison. So you need both the digital and the scent as well.
I can imagine, because I was just thinking, okay, if I would make an app for that, I would make it very automated, So obviously apps can detect what we're doing. So if it notices that I've been sitting on my desk for too long, I would do something that activates me and wants me to go for my walk or my daily run or whatever. And then you subconsciously almost like put yourself into the mood, because I think that's so interesting. Because oftentimes when we create habits, it's just those little trigger points that we don't really understand or not consciously think about. And I think that will be a great device to mold ourselves into a different direction as well. So that not just aiding, but actually actively creating the person that we want to be through sense. I think it's very exciting. And you did promise me that I'll get a device. So I'm waiting for this. When can people get their hands on it?
Well, I hope next year, because there's such a big rise in mental issues, also in my bubble with the people around me, that I'm really pretty working hard with the team on launching next year.
Okay. Got it. Well, if there's anything I can help you with, I'm always happy to. So Dominic, again, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate it. I think our viewers will love this and the listeners as well.
It was a pleasure.
And I'm looking forward to the development of BrainSense. So excited to see where this is going.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.